If you want to make sure you stay in good conversation, you gotta tune in to Coffee and Conversation with Collette. That's me. Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the only station, WHPR TV 33. See you soon. Rise and shine, up and at 'em. It's an amazing Friday morning. Doesn't it feel like fall to you? The crisp air. I know the weather is happening all across this nation of ours. I just want to say, be safe, everyone, please, to all our family and friends and citizens all across these United States where we know that the storms are forecasted to hit. Just be safe. Make safe decisions. If you don't have to go out, don't. If something's happening and you need to take deeper shelter, do. Those kind of things. It's really simple. Don't go out trying to take pictures of the storm. Don't, you understand where we're going this morning? We need you to be safe. Our relationships mean everything, and no matter where you are, it's just important that we have you with us. It's our Friday mornings. It's a Freestyle Friday, but from 7 to 8, we have the Son of Man. So I'm going to get him locked in this morning. Son of Man, are you here? Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm going to get you on, no problem. We're going to bring in Son of Man and callers I see it, so I don't want you to go anywhere. Because on this Friday, we're going to continue the conversation about legacy. I know that a lot of you yesterday, I got some phone calls, and I don't think that you all were too happy with me. It's so funny, I tell you all, we're family. That's how I look at us. So off the air is what you can say to me on the air. If you don't like the conversation, that's okay. Call in and say it so we can discuss it. What do we say here? There's more than one way to have a conversation. Our ultimate goal is to educate, enlighten, and empower. So in all of this, in all of our gettings, what do we say? In all of your gettings, get understanding. So I want to understand you. I want you to understand me. When I bring Son of Man in, I want you all to understand him. And the truth of the reality is you don't have to necessarily agree with him. How's that? Do I need to say that again? You don't have to agree with him. You don't even have to like his presentation, but we just want you to hear what he has to say. Because, see, a lot of times we're blocked from our blessing because we don't like how it's presented to us. And so this morning we're gonna get a deeper dive. What do they call that? A deeper dive? That means you're going to go a little deeper. So let me make sure I greet Son of Man again. I think we were doing a connection thing. And I want to make sure that's heard. Assalamu alaikum, sir, this morning to you. Son of Man, do I have you? Okay, let me see, Son of Man. We're still working to get Son of Man to you all. Don't worry, he's going to be on. So I'm going to continue with the conversation as we prepare to bring him in. Yesterday, again, we talked about legacy. And I wanted you all to take it from the perspective of we honored the life of Dick Gregory. We gave a clip that talked about his activism, how he was able to use his comedy to capture a conversation and then change the narrative. And when I say change, he honored what was happening to people of color. You all saw the clip on the Tonight Show. He, made it out of a joke. But what did he say? You all better be nice to me because now with JFK as president, I might be your neighbor. He spoke to a lot of the truths that were happening to people of color at that time, with segregation, with integration, with civil rights, with education, with nutrition, everything that we still are addressing today. We shared, I didn't know that Dick Gregory had run for president of the United States. And I bet now, in hindsight, everyone always says that hindsight is 2020. But in the hindsight, we would have looked at it a lot differently since Richard Nixon won that election. And we are very clear about what happened with Richard Nixon. But It's all about legacy. And so in the clip that I shared yesterday, you all saw he talked about his wife. They have been married since 1957 and his 10 children. And his daughter, who was the oldest at the end, who was a professor, she said, this is how we were brought up. And so we don't know any other way. And that there isn't any other way to be. And so I asked you yesterday, do you think about that? Do you think about those of us who are put up to either by individuals or self-ordained to take on a cause, to take on a mantra that makes us better as a community? That is the charge. And then when that person transitions from this physical life, who steps in the gap? We talk about it historically. We talk about the life of Malcolm, the life of Martin, the life of Medgar. I can go on. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We talk about the life of, we can just name and name the lives of. And then I asked, where were we afterwards? Where are the people that were either trained by those individuals to stand in their place and alongside their honor and spirit and the energy that they created? I addressed to us just being on this wonderful platform, WHPR TV 33, that is because of the hard work and the legacy of the team and the leadership of R.J. Watkins that we are standing on those shoulders and the opportunity to have the conversations today. But maybe we'll miss it when it's not here. Because we are so eloquent in talking about what our forefathers and foremothers did, but then we don't take the charge now. We don't take the charge to say, I want to do that work. But I'm asking you, is that important to you? Maybe it's not. At the end of the day, every year, Black History Month, we have the same people that we honor. And then it seems like we just stop. Even in our families, it's the same people that we talk about, but we don't continue that same tradition. And I shared yesterday, legacy, there's a lot of different things. People attach it to assets. They attach it to wealth. I attach it to intellect, to experience, to an understanding and a knowledge that is given to you to make your life better. But a lot of times, maybe when the ego steps in, we don't want to pass on that knowledge. We don't want to pass on that greatness to someone else to continue the torch. Because I share with you, I even gave a political position. I said, well, we can look at some elected officials that we know that are people of color who haven't passed on. And I asked you, if you knew of someone different, tell me. If you knew who Congressman Conyers has ordained to, under his tutelage, to take on this position as the longest sitting dean in congressional history, who he has knighted and has been teaching along the way, so that when his time of service is up, that other person is trained to be able to present the same ideology and plan of action to be able to benefit this community. I asked you all that. I asked you that on the wakes of Coleman Alexander Young, the mayor of the great city of Detroit, then outside of him, who else was trained? Now we have his son that's running for the office of mayor. And so many people still don't support that position. And if you don't, that's fine. You need to be able to explain why. I shared with you all yesterday that I was not going to be in a space where there was a person for higher office that I could vote for that was a person of color, as in our President Barack Hussein Obama, and not vote for him. I got some pushback. You all said, well, Collette, you know, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And I thought it was so interesting how we are so eloquent in talking about all the things that black folk don't do for black folk, but we never hold the other folk accountable for what you say they're supposed to do for us. But we will go fighting mad, tooth and nail against someone who looks like us if they don't do the slightest bit of what we expect, even though we don't have an action plan. And then when they present an action plan to us, we fight them because then we want to critique their action plan when there was no plan. And so it's the dog chasing the tail, because then we still have no legacy. It was their legacy. We have no legacy. And I had a conversation, and Brother Tyrone called in today and said, well, the truth is we just can't, we have never been a we, so we could never do it because we are not a we. And I venture to say that we know how to be we, because we worked together when we picked cotton. We worked together when we built the White House. We work together when we're on the assembly line. We know how to do the work for everybody else, but when it comes to us and what we're supposed to do for each other under the leadership of someone that looks like us, we don't do so well. And I know that you all don't like to hear that. And so I presented it to you. Well, you tell me, how's it any different? You tell me that you're doing something different, and so you see the outcomes of it. If you don't even want to make it personal because we don't have an action plan for ourselves, then I'm going to ask you just to go for Detroit as a whole. Go for your community as a whole. So what is the legacy of Detroit now? So if we want to just make this generalization, do you even think about that? If you don't want to make it personal, if you don't want to say what I'm doing for myself and my family, if you don't want to do that, if we haven't had enough examples of things that we have learned and how we can either do the same things, critique what was done. I talk about protest without policy, and my position is a moot point. We can protest all day, but if you don't attach it to some type of legislation that then can be pushed and lobbied to create a viable outcome, I don't know what we expect other than to protest. But that's my position, and that's my assessment from the legacy that I have seen, from the marches, from the civil rights movement. My assessment then becomes it has to be more to do more. And so that's what I put out there yesterday, and I couldn't wait for the Son of Man this morning because I wanted to get his insight. Because, I'm going to take it over to the religious aspect as well. Because so many of us, no matter who you say you are, however you identify yourself, if it's a Muslim, if it's a Christian, if it's a Buddhist, whoever, and whatever that looks like for you, are you walking in the truths of the messenger that you say that you follow? The message from the Bible, the message from the Holy Quran. Do you follow in that? So even if you didn't, you know what? I can't even say that because that doesn't even go together. I can't say if you didn't respect the person who's giving the message, but you follow the Bible, that doesn't even go together. Because I should respect you. If I follow the word that says I should respect a human being, that I should work to listen, that you should love people, that I shouldn't have the conflict and the chaos that I see, that we see. Even that we see on these airwaves. I tell you all the time, you don't have to, again, agree with Son of Man. And I'm not here to have to wave Son of Man's flag. He can do that on his own. I'm going to bring him in. He does that quite well. But it's just in truth. And so we get mad. Again, we get mad. We don't want to get better. I'm asking. So now, Son of Man, are you there? Great morning to you. Assalamu alaikum.
Good morning. Well, I want to say to every one of you that's listening who hunger and thirst for the truth of righteousness, may Allah assalamu alaikum to you.
Yes.
I was listening to so much. There's so many subjects that you brought up. One of the reasons that when I was growing up, I didn't really follow Mr. Gregory on none of them. But what got me was Dr. Cosby, Bill Cosby. For the first time, I saw a black man in a role that you just didn't see black men play. It was dignified. It was called I Spy.
I Spy, right?
And
right.
He had a role that you just didn't see black men playing. He was even beating up white people, and doing karate and all that kind of stuff. I used to rush home to look at I Spy.
Okay.
And then come to find out he was not just a joker, but he always, even his jokes were clean. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you can go online, you can see where he used to talk about black history and that kind of thing. And so I developed a respect for him because he made me feel proud that I was black.
Yes.
He helped to put the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I didn't realize that that's where it came from.
Right.
But, he hung out with Muhammad Ali a lot. Mm-hmm. Dr. Cosby did. And So I never forgot that.
Okay.
You know, you don't forget when people do. At least I don't. I don't forget people who do good for me,
Mhm.
who I feel cared about me, and they
Yes.
showed it. It's like Mr. Watkins. You know, I mean, how many stations did I go on, and people tried to get me to tone down what I say? In other words, they want me to pay for airtime, and then want to dictate to me what I can and cannot say,
Yes.
even though what I was saying was the truth.
Yes.
And so, you know, Mr. Watkins restored my faith in the media,
Yeah.
because he never tried to tell me what I could. He never even hinted to me, look, you need to tone this down, or I'm losing business or whatnot. And people had been threatening him.
Yeah.
And he simply told them that I asked him about it. He said, well, I told them, you offered them 20,000 and your life if they could show that you was teaching something other than the truth. And he told them that and as long as I wasn't violating FCC rules or whatnot, he was not going to try to dictate to me what to say
Right.
on the air. That's against the Constitution. You can't be censoring people
Right.
on the air. Picking and choosing who you will let say something
Mhm.
on the public airway.
Mhm.
And so, so I never forgot that.
Right.
I never just articulated it to him in that way at the time, but I never forgot that he lived up to what the law says that you're supposed to do. And
Yes.
it's very few people that are willing to live up to the law if that law make them have to put up with something that they don't want to put up with,
Right.
you see. And so, just like what you said about President Obama,
Mhm.
black people rejoiced to get him in there.
Mhm.
And then after he got in there, they tried to hold him to a different set of standards than they held all of the white presidents.
Right.
When President Obama, uh, they wanted him to become an activist
Right.
in the office of President of the United States.
Yes.
Well, you're seeing what happens when a president decides that he only going to represent certain parts of the country.
Right.
We experienced that with white people.
Right.
And now you're getting a real taste of it with the current president, Donald Trump.
Yes.
He
Yes.
don't even care about everybody else. He cares about those who voted for him.
Mhm.
And even right now, he's going around the country reinventing what he ran in office for,
That's right.
telling people that he's going to build the wall or the debt, he's going to crash the good faith credit of the U.S.
Yes.
and stuff. That's not what he said when he went in office. He said he was going to make Mexico pay for the wall.
Right.
Now
Right.
he's going to make the American people pay for the wall.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to be able to do that when these hurricanes and stuff get through tearing up everything. You're
Yeah.
going to need every billion that you got. You're going to need it to rebuild Texas and other places.
Yeah.
You're talking about a wall. It's a wall of water coming at you.
Right.
A wall of hurricanes coming at you. A wall of tornadoes coming at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see how you do with your Katrina.
Right. Right.
Anyway, this is the day of judgment.
Mm.
This is the day I say to my people, don't be afraid.
Okay.
I'm telling you, stop fearing white people. The reason we could work in the cotton field, the reason we could build the presidential mansion, the reason we could do all of that for white people is because we feared white people, and they forced us to labor for them.
Yes.
And even after we got through laboring for them, our mothers be there scrubbing their floors all day and raising their children. And when they got home, they were so dead tired that they couldn't do nothing for their own house
Right.
and didn't even care about their own house.
Right.
Even right now, most of us go out to a job working in a factory for white people, and get home and too tired to cut our own lawn,
Oh,
too wore out. We are patching other people's houses up, working in carpentry, and come home to a run-down, tore-up community and too tired to
right.
build up our own.
Right.
Well, it's time now for us to go for ourselves. And if you give me a chance, I will show you it's easy. But this old slave mentality of ours, and it goes so deep
Yes.
that I'm gonna capsulize it for you.
Mm-hmm.
The school system that was set up for white people by white people
Yes.
to perpetuate white people. And naturally, when we send our children to the school system, our children come out black on the outside and white on the inside,
Yeah.
which means we gravitate to white people and we push black people away. That's why we got that old saying when I was growing up, a nigger can't tell me nothing.
Right.
Well, that's a white man talking.
Yeah.
I didn't have sense enough to know it when I said that. But that's the white man's mentality.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Understand something. We only use skin color to identify where the source of that mind is and who passed it on to us.
Yes.
It's not that white skin makes him evil. White skin don't make nobody evil.
Right.
The mind that's in the skin is what's doing the dictating.
Yes.
So I understand that now. I don't see as a child anymore. I see as an adult.
Right.
And that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted me to do. He said, now look, if you can walk out of what I'm teaching, he says you will be able to make steps on your own.
Okay.
Now, at the time he said that, I wasn't in the nation.
Okay.
And he told all of them that was there. He said, but I don't think you'll be able to walk out of what I'm teaching.
No.
But when I showed up, and after he wasn't here no more, they let me hear all of those theology of time tapes.
Okay.
And, they're putting them up for sale and everything now because they didn't pay him no attention.
Right.
It's just like the question you asked about who was to come after him, that about legacy.
Yes.
How people talk about, well, who did this one prepare and who did that one prepare? Mm-hmm. Well, let me let you hear what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said was coming after him.
Okay.
And the light of the truth must shine so clear that you cannot claim there was a cloud between you and it. This is the little boy that is talking to you now. There is nobody coming behind me but God. I better tell you that. There is nobody coming behind me but God. I better tell you that. There is nobody coming behind me but God. I better tell you that.
He said, there's nobody coming behind me but God.
Right.
What is that to say? There's nobody coming behind me but the one that the Word agrees with. Remember, the book says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with somebody.
Yes.
The Word was with God.
Yes.
He called the one that the Word was with, that the Word agreed with, and the one that brought the Word.
Right.
Called him God. That's what God means. These people, the white man has taught you a lie about who is God and what God is. He taught you everything contrary to what the truth is. And it wouldn't do any good if I told you this behind his back. But I'm not telling you this behind his back. I'm saying this right in front of his face.
Right.
And you see he shut his mouth at me.
Right.
And so, I want you, black brother and sister, to know that all of those who, I don't care what you did in the past. Yeah. I don't care, even those who was in the nation. You wasn't me. So I understand now that you couldn't have understood the messenger like I understood him, because all understanding and all knowledge of understanding is in the head. The body only can feel. The body can't can't see. The head sees for the body.
Right.
And so I forgive all of y'all.
Okay.
I don't care what you done did. I don't care what you said to me. You are forgiven. We need to get together and pool our resources. Just like what you pool your resources every day in your body.
Right.
You notice, we all got up this morning and every member of the body helped us get dressed. Every member of the body walked us to the door and walked us to the car and helped us drive the car. Every member was acting as one.
Yes.
That's what we got to do. We have to throw off the yoke that white people put on us, that yoke of false knowledge, that yoke that makes us look at each other as enemies.
Yes.
While the true enemy, we don't even we see it every day in the mirror, and we don't even recognize. We have eyes, but we don't see the true enemy that we carrying around right there in our brains.
Right.
We go to the school system of these people who enslaved us, and then we wonder why wherever you go in America, you always find black people in a poverty-stricken condition, and their resources being strip-mined. You know what I mean by strip-mined? I mean, if people come to our community that don't look like us, the white man bring them in here and set them up in business.
Right.
And they hear me talking. Any of them that say I'm lying, you let them come in here and tell me I'm lying.
Okay.
He bring them in here because he do business in their country. So he fixed it where we are totally dependent. Even when we was working for him, he made sure that he didn't give us any knowledge of how to take our funds and put them together and support each other.
Right.
And find the smart ones among us and put them in business. They go in business, and then our community go and support them. No, he put in us, I ain't gonna make that nigga rich.
Right. Right.
And I proved it to you when I said, let's make millionaires. And I said, just sign up for it. I didn't take up no money.
Right.
I just said to all of you who are willing to do that, let's just go to the website and sign up for it. Out of all of the hundreds of thousands of black people in Detroit, you know how many signed up? 300.
Okay.
Why? Because in your mind, you still don't want to see a black man with nothing.
Right.
Because the white man don't want to see black people with nothing.
Right.
And you got the white man's mind. Now, if you want to know what you need to overcome, you used to sing that song, we shall overcome, we shall overcome. Well, nobody never told you what you needed to overcome.
Right.
But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We have to overcome the mind that we received from white people.
Right.
And the only way you're going to overcome it is, and you can call it ego tripping all you want, but I'm not on no ego trip. The mind that's in me has overcome.
Yes.
And I can share this mind with you, and you will be free of the white man's slavery.
Right. You know
because now you are enslaved with chains of darkness, chains of knowledge.
Yes.
Just like the first grade is linked into the second grade, and the second grade linked to the third, and through. And that's what's holding us now.
Right.
We holding ourselves because of the chains of darkness, ignorance.
Yes.
Learned ignorance.
Yes.
That we got from listening to our flesh.
Right.
So it's a lot of things I want to say. I know, Miss Ramsey, you want to probably go to your phone line.
You know what? I apologize. You guys call back. We had the lines were lit and we got into the conversation. You know, it's always important to allow Son of Man to give his full thoughts, at least for the onset of our subject matter. So you guys call back. I'll make sure I'll get you back on the line. So while they're preparing to do that, Sonny Man, let me ask you, because
Yes.
I think it's really interesting when we made the reference of the 300 individuals that signed up for the opportunity that you presented to be millionaires. So here's a plan to be a millionaire. I thought about the conversations of so many of us. We have more than 300 residents who work in the factories. And when the buyout was going on in the factories, where we could, the bailout, not the buyout, well, we have a buyout situation as well, but the bailout in the factory, two factories here that were bailed out, folks, I would let somebody call in here and you tell me how many people actually bought stock, that actually worked for the auto industry and actually bought that stock. I venture to say, and you all can bet, I'll figure it out and find out what the answer is, that we didn't even buy stock. You all worked for the company that you could have gotten the stock at, when was it? Start off at 12 cents or some ridiculous number that you could have never bought stock for at that price. And you worked for the company, and I bet you didn't even buy the stock. I promise you didn't. But when they offered you a bailout, when they offered you $100,000 or $60,000, because you all figured that that was going to be your legacy, so the bailout was going to be your legacy, but the stock in the company that you worked in blood and sweat and tears for 20, 30 years, that wouldn't be your legacy because you didn't do that, but you take the 20, the 50, $60,000 bailout and then say you're going to be an entrepreneur. I always think that's so interesting because I know several people who took the bailout and then they jumped into this entrepreneurial ship. And so my thing is, if you've never been an entrepreneur, you've never had any training to be an entrepreneur, then you take this money, how do you think that's going to work for you? Do you think that all of a sudden you're just going to be equipped then to say, I'm going to be this entrepreneur and I'm just going to be successful because I think I can without even having a plan to do it? And then there's so many people that now have spent the bailout money, their buyout money, I'm sorry. They spent the buyout money and now they're back looking for a job. How does that work? So I need to understand, you had the legacy. You have the examples. We have the examples, but we just refuse to listen. So maybe the truth is, Son of Man's point, my question is that we really don't want to overcome. Because if we overcome, there's a level of responsibility that, we have to have. And so that puts the ownership on us. That takes the ownership off of everyone else. So now I can't blame you anymore. So Son of Man, if I listen to you, I can't blame you and fight with you and talk about what you're saying is wrong. I can't do that every day because it will be no need. So if I just worked with you to work towards being successful, there would be no need to have this other conversation. But I think it's too much, Son of Man. I think we were trained to believe that we can't overcome. And those of us who have been in that forefront are the ones who constantly fight to show that we're oppressed, but there's no way out of the oppression as presented.
Well, remember, you don't overcome anything that you don't realize that you need to overcome.
Right.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling everybody. We didn't know we needed to overcome anything. We didn't know what it was we needed to overcome. We thought we needed to overcome sitting on the back of the bus.
Right.
We thought we needed to overcome sitting up at white people's lunch counter.
Right.
We thought we needed to overcome equal jobs.
Come on.
And all of that. That's not what we was busy thinking with white people's minds.
Yeah.
And everything that white people wanted, that's what we wanted.
Right. Wait.
And
Stay right there. Stay right there, please. Did you all just get that? Did you hear what Son of Man said? And callers, I see I'm about to go to you. Everything that the white man wanted is what we wanted. And today it's what we want. And I will dare you to call in and say different. Because we do everything the way that Detroit is a prime example of it. How 10, 15 years ago, no one wanted to invest in Detroit. We, those who had means, went out to the suburbs. We wanted to buy that $250,000 house, that $300,000 house that was a fabricated home on not even a half a piece of acre of land, but with high taxes. But we wanted that title. We live out in West Bloomfield. We live out in Farmington. That was sexy to us. We took pride in saying that. And all the while, those with means were moving in the city. They were moving those historic districts. They were moving in the areas that had the levels of affluence that we just didn't put a value. When you can take any other housing stock in Detroit right now and you put it against the suburbs, and it's no comparison. If you took these same houses that you paid $100,000 for and put them out in the suburbs, they're $300,000, $400,000. The quality, the craftsmanship of the home. But we didn't have a value in that because we wanted to do what they did. And so now, when they're back downtown and everything is great and it's how they see Detroit, and now we want to move back downtown. You all saw the newspaper article the other day, and I'm going to go to the lines. We saw the newspaper article that the Queen, Aretha Franklin, is ready to come back home. And when I read the article, I said, well, wow, I didn't know. Well, where did she move? Where? Is she in California? Where is she? Well, no, she lives out in Bloomfield Hills. And so now she's ready to come back to Detroit. She said she's getting her affairs in order, and now she's ready to come back to Detroit because it's time for her to retire, and she wants to open up a restaurant downtown. But now she's ready to come back. So now everybody's ready to come back after everything has been situated so that they can control it, and then we want to come back. Do you get? That's what they say it's good now, it's safe now. Now it's good and it's safe now. So now we want to come back to the same place that we grew up in, that you knew everything, that you know everybody in your block, everybody in your hood, you know everybody, but now it's okay for you to come back. Come on, you guys. Stop it. Stop it. It's so true. You can't sit and even deny that everything they say goes, but well, to certain things. We won't follow their examples with how to create wealth. They went and bought the stock. We didn't buy the stock. They went and bought up the houses in our neighborhood. We don't buy the houses in our neighborhoods. You hear me? They complain about services, and once they complain, things happen differently. We don't complain.
Always the one who rules can always rig the game against you.
Thank you.
Even when you found out, I mean, President Obama, he found that out, and they showed us that. President Obama did less executive orders than any of his predecessors.
Yes.
Than most of his predecessors. But every time he did an executive order, they said he was trying to be king. He was trying to do something that he didn't have no business doing.
Right.
And why? They had never said that about a president and executive orders before.
Thank you.
See, they was changing the rules because the black man was in charge.
Absolutely.
And he was trying to do what he had saw his white predecessors do.
Right.
And they didn't like it.
Right.
So it don't matter, brothers and sisters. It don't matter how you learn how to, even if you had invested in the stock market, they'd have changed the rules on that.
Right.
It's time for us now to realize that the only way we're going to really get justice, the only way we're really going to be free is we have to unite,
Okay.
and we have to make our way on some of this earth that we can call our own, like other free people are doing.
Absolutely. So, man, let's go to the lines. Let's go to the lines. I don't want to miss anyone. All of them are lit.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the lines. Thanks so much for your patience. Oh, no. Son of Man, I need you to get back on the line. I have lost Son of Man. Call back in, Son of Man. I'll make sure I get you back, and I'll hold the caller on. Good morning to you, caller. Are you there?
Good morning. I give you life.
Good. I can hear you. Good morning to you.
I just want to touch on the financial literacy that you were talking about earlier.
Okay. What would you like to say?
I think we need to start a lot earlier.
Okay.
It's hard to teach, again, a rabbit that's been going to squirrel school all the time.
Okay.
We have to start earlier, and we have to get collectively together even as ladies or even as men, I don't see no togetherness. We need to start groups and stuff like we used to have and help each other out in the community.
Yes. Yes. Well, stay there. I have a
Each one
question.
teach one.
I have a question for you, and I totally agree. Why do you think that we stopped that? Because we have had the models. It has worked for us, but there's a disconnect. Why do you think we stopped working together? We stopped teaching each other on our blocks. Everyone knew growing up, if you did something wrong, Miss Johnson was going to get you just like Miss Evans was going to get you, just like Miss Collins was going to get you. And then they were going to go home and tell your mama that you did something. I mean, we had an invested interest in each other and our welfare. Why do you think that stopped?
The examples changed. So
Ah,
we wanted to be more like the examples.
good point. And so, what type of examples do you recall? Is there something off? Just anything? Just us being more
Oh, just
affluent?
like it was the Cosbys. We grew up in a family-oriented environment. We prayed together. We ate together. All of
Yes.
that changed.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad you brought up that. Absolutely right. When Son of Man mentioned I Spy, I wasn't of age to have watched that. But The Cosby Show. Do you remember how excited everybody was when The Cosby Show came on? Everybody. I mean, we
Yes.
finally had our black family. You had a man and a wife and children living together and having life experiences and working through them. And we identified with that. And it was great. It was great. And great point, Colin. You're a first time caller, so great morning to you. I think that's a great example because we had it and everyone knew it and we were proud with it. And when we didn't see that anymore, for whatever reasons why we didn't see that, or it transferred. So then we had what? We had the Cosby Show, and then we had a different world to show them go to college, and it had a life of its own that we could relate to. And great point. And then it stopped. You know what? If you can hold on 1 second, caller, I'm going to get Son of Man back on the line, okay? And I don't want to miss your call, so hold on 1 second. Let me, Son of Man, Son of Man, do I have you? Oh, no? Okay. Are you there? Good morning?
Good morning.
Okay. No, you're not Son of Man, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay, wait, hold on. I don't want to lose you, though. Hold on. Let me see. Ooh. Third line. Let's see. Let's try number 3. This is great on a Friday. Great morning to you. Is this Son of Man?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got you. Let me lock you in. And the young lady, okay, so we're going to go to the line. Son of Man, while we were getting you back on the line, a caller called in and she said that our examples have changed. And I thought that that was a great point because you had mentioned seeing Bill Cosby and I Spy. And I wasn't of age to have seen the show, but I remember the Cosby Show. And we saw the examples of the black family eating together. They were working together, working in the family together, having the experiences of raising children together. All the things that even if it had a comedic undertone to it, there were still lessons and there were still great examples for us. So again, it goes back to we have had examples. And the caller's point was that the narrative changed, the examples changed, and then we changed with them, and that didn't benefit us.
Well, the problem is that we're letting white own all of the media.
Uh-huh.
And, that's one of the things that got Dr. Cosby in trouble was that they saw him going back, trying to enlighten our people.
Yes.
And so they took the media and began lynching him.
Yes.
And because our media, if you notice, if you remember, I'm not trying to boast or nothing, but how many other people besides myself did you see standing up defending him? None of the media took part in defending him.
Right.
They took part in slandering him.
Yes.
And most of our people fell for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so this is the thing. We have to stop letting white people dictate to us what to believe.
Right. Right.
And that's what television is.
Right.
It's showing you what they want you to believe.
Yes. Yes.
And as long as we let them portray us, then naturally we always going to be the joker.
Right.
You know, it was very unheard of for a black man to get a serious role as a co-star in a half-serious movie
Right.
when Dr. Cosby was coming up. But that was them trying to counter what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was doing.
Okay.
They had to do something to try to counter, and they called it a counterintelligence program.
Counterintelligence. Right.
So
Right.
when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started dignifying us, you notice, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if you ever wanted to see the story of Cinderella fulfilled, it was with the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He look what Malcolm used to be. Malcolm was a pimp, a hustler.
Right.
And they used to call him Satan in prison. Dirty Red.
Yeah.
And he heard the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and like the fairy godmother did with Cinderella, the messenger turned a mouse into a footman to go along with a coach.
Yeah.
And the fairy godmother turned things that was nothing. He went into the black community and began putting up Muhammad's temples and started putting up supermarkets and all of this kind of thing. And he did it not with the best of us, but with some of the worst of us.
Yes.
And at a certain time, you know, the one that had did all the work, Cinderella used to do all the work in the house.
Right.
And the wicked stepsisters would get all the fine clothes and everything, and they would get to go to the ball, but Cinderella couldn't go.
Right.
And what was it with us? We did all the work here, and we got the worst clothes, we got the worst homes, we got the worst of everything.
Yes.
Until God showed up and began to teach us the truth. And he put our sisters in beautiful garments. Them, when you look out there, that's the one thing that attracted me to the Nation of Islam, was seeing them sisters dressed so beautifully in all that white, beautiful garments, and the brothers standing up there with uniforms on that white people didn't invent. And the brothers, even if they didn't have uniforms on, they had on suits, and they was dressed nice, and they looked like something that stepped out of a magazine.
Right.
And I said, man, this is it here.
Right.
And so I joined.
Right.
But all of that was done so that Cinderella could meet the prince. And likewise. And you know, she went back to rags and everything. But the prince knew she was there and came after her.
Right.
So this is the same. All that was done so that you could meet with the Prince of Peace. And that's me.
Okay.
And I don't care what you look like now.
Right.
The shoes that you find in there, you remember the only thing that didn't go back was the shoes.
Right. Right. The
And they fit only Cinderella.
Right.
Now, if you can find some other people that fit Abraham's seed being in bondage for 400 years and being afflicted for 400 years and being mistreated and being rejected and despised, if you can find any other people other than the American so-called Negro
Right.
that them shoes fit, point them out. And if you're the only one they fit, then I'm your Lord, and I'm here to save you.
All right.
I'm
So, the
here
man, we're going to go to the line and
give
call us.
you everything you've been begging these people for, and they turn a deep ear to you.
Right.
I remember when I saw what happened to Gaddafi. The people that, like Minister Farrakhan and all of them, they was so foolish as to think that Gaddafi was their friend.
I remember.
Gaddafi wasn't our friend.
Right.
Gaddafi had billions and billions of dollars.
Okay.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was here asking for help for our people. And Gaddafi, out of all them billions, I remember when they loaned the messenger $3 million or $4 million.
Okay. Yeah.
The messenger said, when you heard about the Muslim country loaning us $3 million, he said, that's like a man loaning you $3 when you needed 100. And he said, the people will regret their non-help to us. And when I saw them pulling him out of that hole and with his gold-plated gun, and used his own gun to blow his brains out? I say, uh-huh. If he had only helped the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to help us, then his history would have been a whole different thing.
Right.
But no, nobody came forth to help us. And now they all turning on each other, and they all being destroyed.
Right.
Because you saw my people over here being harmed, being enslaved, and you didn't lift a finger to help us. You came over here and set up shop in the black community while you knew it's in your book that you claim to believe in, that we don't supposed to eat swine.
Right.
And you come here and you sell pig foot and everything else to my people because you know they will eat it. You know that we are sick.
You know what, son of man?
Instead of
This is what I want us to do. Because we got a couple callers and I don't want to miss the opportunity to finish the conversation with you. If you can give us a few more minutes, I'm going to go to break. And then we're going to come back and we can finish this conversation up before I go into the next full segment. Is that okay? Do you have a few minutes for us?
That's fine.
Okay, great. Everyone, this is what we're going to do. You all heard it. That's the plan. We're going to go to break. Callers, I see you. We'll make sure you are part of the conversation with the Son of Man. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.